used to live in Ollie. Tons of X-tier shit out there. The road down to Rainier Town is fucked up. Driving down the road at night, a big-ass dog ran in front of the car. Kept running straight in front of car, away from the car. Splits into 2 dogs. Each run off to their own side of the road. West Ollie, in the Westwood subdivision off Conger. Hella haunted house. Woman murdered in the 70s. Stories are countless. One nice spirit, likely the woman, only appears to men. One nasty fucker. A bunch of chill ones. Woods behind Westwood. Ghost dog. Indian pottery underneath ground that bursts into glittering light tornadoes. Hand swiping out of bushes. Grass Lake. Witches who are immune to pellet guns and potato guns. Left half-burnt deer carcass in reeds next to tent. What the fuck? Demon on West Side. He appeared a couple times to me there. About 8 feet tall. Black. Triangle head. Feeds on fear. Bigfoot out in Capitol Forest. Shadowed me for a few hours out on the logging roads. Kept out of direct eyesight. Kept finding large tufts of gray and brown hair. Long as fuck. Camped in an early hollow or an uprooted tree. Kept fire in front, earth behind. Knife pointed out all night. Him watching. Blood-curdling Sasquatch screams. Like when you're a young man and scream too loud, and it sounds kinda girly and unrestrained. This story isn't mine, but from a guy I used to work with. Wanna go party. Don't have driver's license yet. Bro says he'll take me there after shift, and to wait for him at Edith Mountain Park. Sweet, head there. About 11 at night in July, waiting at the park. Waiting for bro to pick me up. All of a sudden, feel cold. Like, really cold. Look around to see if anything is causing it. See fog all of a sudden in the park. Then, hear, leave. Only a whisper at first. Feel piercing stare coming from the fog. Leave. Now. Said again. But this time, like it's being screamed. Just barely see a female form in the fog. Take off running back to home. Wait for someone to come home. He would later ask if his brother saw anything that night in the park. But he said he didn't see anything. Not even the fog was there when he arrived. Yelm, Washington is the headquarters of the Ramtha religion, led by Jay-Z Knights. She holds meetings with people to channel this Atlantean warrior, Ramtha. She's attracted the attention of a few celebrities. The only ones I know of are Linda Evans from Dynasty and Salma Hayek. Apparently, both of them have residences in the area. Poor Salma was in the news a few years ago when her dog broke out and got shot by a neighbor. Anyways, Knight has a couple of businesses in town, and there are members of her religion who live among the community and have families. Knight lives on a large property with a mansion and a big field for traveling members of her practice to make pilgrimage and set up camp. It's 2 blocks away from the high school. Members of her group are made to work for her organization, and her property, all without monetary compensation. OP here. My friend used to live right next to the land where the fences were. He told me that one time, when he was getting ready to leave to go to school, there were 2 little kids on the other side of the fence, yelling for help. Another time, he said he heard people on the other side of the fence, calling his name. There's probably something strange going on there, besides eating habits. My dad spent almost his entire life in Washington, mostly pretty rural. He's had several Bigfoot encounters. One of them was a footprint that he found. I want to say it was in a game reserve. It looked like a too big human footprint, except it didn't make any sense for the location and time of year. I believe the mud was from fresh snowmelt. He put a measuring tape next to it and took a picture. I think it was somewhere in the range of 21 inches long. I'll contact him and see if he can send me a picture. He should still have it. Update. Pic related. Can we post ones that aren't paranormal but are still spooky? 15. Go to grandmother's one day to do some gardening. On the way, see this old woman in her 80s, trying to cut ivy above her front door with garden shears. Can't reach, and can barely hold the shears. Tell her if she can hold on a couple of hours, I'll do it for her on the way back. Suspicious, and I don't have the most welcoming face. Asks me if my dad's called Billy. He is. Not surprised she knew, because me and him rarely look alike, and complete strangers who know him have stopped me in the street to ask if he's my dad. Once I confirm it, she seems much more comfortable and accepts my offer. Go back a couple of hours later. Only takes about 10 minutes to do everything. Let her know I'm finished and I'm heading home. But she's made me a cup of tea. British people love tea. Explain my parents are waiting for me and I have to get back. It's only a quick cup of tea. Feel sorry for her because maybe she has no company. Except on the condition that I can call my parents and let them know I'm going to be late. She agrees, but insists that she calls them because she hasn't spoken to my mom for ages, and I can drink my tea. Seems fair. Give her the number. She makes the call and starts conversation with my mom. Sitting in the living room waiting for tea to cool. Glance around, like you do in new places. Phone is on a little table just outside living room, opposite where I am. Notice something. Excuse me? Who are you talking to? The phone doesn't even have a wire on it to plug in anywhere. Gives me the most menacing look and hangs up. Fuck this. Barge my way out while she keeps apologizing and telling me that I haven't finished my tea. Nah, fuck that. Get home. Tell parents about it. Dad asks if she's called Doris. She is. Turns out, she poisoned her parents and brother, who didn't die, and was put in some nut place for years. Had a real vendetta against my dad because my dad beat her son up when they were like 8. Who knows what was in that tea, bros? Be me, 11 years old, summer, visit grandparents in Oregon, go on hunting and camping trip with dad and granddad, in a woods.mp4. Typical camping trip for the first 2 days. On third day, while walking, looking for animals, I get a feeling of being watched. That night, we do the usual. Build fire, grill sausages on fire, eat and chat for a bit. Still feel like I'm being watched, but I don't mention it. After some time, we decide to go to bed. We have 2 tents, one with me and dad, and one with grandpa. After some time, get waken up to sound of grandpa calling my name. I don't wake up dad for some reason. Get flashlight and go out. Don't know how much time I had slept, but the fire was completely out with no embers. Walk in direction of grandfather's voice while calling him. After a few minutes of walking, my grandpa and dad come up behind me, asking why I'm calling for grandpa. Tell them I heard grandpa calling for me. They tell me they were both asleep. What.png. While walking back, we all hear my granddad's voice from behind us call my name. Now, we're very spooked, because grandpa was walking in front of us. We quickly walk to the campsite and pack up and leave. Still hear grandpa's voice while packing and walking to the car. We drive back to my grandparents' house. During the drive, dad and grandpa are both silent. The sun is rising when we reach. We go to bed. Ask my granddad about it after waking up, and he tells me it's best not to bring it up. Can tell by his voice that he's serious. It's been 15 years since then. Granddad died 4 years ago. About 14, chilling with friend. We're casually talking. Suddenly, I get hit with this intense and confusing feeling. I say, wait. About 15 seconds later, I say, now. And then, the phone rang instantly. I don't know what that was about. Here's a quick rundown of some stuff I've experienced while I'm at it. Childhood home in South Florida that was plagued with whispers and apparitions. Another house in Central Florida that I had some really freaky skinwalker-esque nightmares in, among other stuff. The time I moved to a new town and had multiple people tell me that they already knew me, yet refused to elaborate. The time my ex-girlfriend and I shared a weird demonic nightmare, and then I expelled what I believed to be an actual demon. And I'm sure there's more I'm forgetting, but those are the big things I remember. Alright, I'll post the last one I mentioned since it's the most recent of them. Be me, last September. Just got back from a trip to Georgia with a girlfriend. Staying at girlfriend's parents' place because they're in another country, and they wanted us to watch the house. Girlfriend has been complaining of stuff moving around, her dog barking at random corners of the house, and etc. Girlfriend and I are lying in bed, drifting asleep. Not really tired, but I close my eyes. prone to imagery and hallucinations, albeit rarely. Tonight, I'm seeing all sorts of weird shit, like dragons, demons, and really big tropical flowers shifting around, like I'm tripping balls. Get a really bad feeling watching it, like a pit forms in my stomach. Stay like that for a while, until girlfriend whispers, "Anon? Yeah, I just had a really scary nightmare." "What was it about?" "There were, like, demon faces, and dragons, and, like, flowers." "What? .jpg. What the fuck? Really?" "Yeah." Girlfriend then stares off toward the closet and says that she feels a presence. I felt it too, but I reassured her that it was nothing, just to make her feel better. While she's in there, I recite a prayer and basically tell the demon to quite literally get the fuck out. "You're not fucking welcome here," etc., etc. As I finish up, I see a faint round ball of light. Not really light, but it's the closest word I can think of to describe it. It's about the size of a basketball, and it flies through the wall from one end of the room and then out of the window. Girlfriend comes back into the room as I'm sitting there in disbelief. "Did you see something, Anon?" "Nope, nothing. Let's just go back to bed." I saged the house a week later. No demonic bullshit since. Here's the third one too while I'm at it. Be me, 2016, in high school. Just moved to a relatively small town to get to a better school. Hanging out with girlfriend at the time and her friend downtown. Walk by a restaurant with outdoor seating. Girlfriend is rushing me to show me something. Feel a hand tug on my shirt. Stop. See a woman in her late 20s or early 30s, with sunglasses, sitting alone at one of the outdoor tables. "You're Anon, right?" Yeah, why?" "First and last name? Pants currently being shit.wave. How do I know you?" "Don't think so." "Then how do you... I don't know." Girlfriend and her friend start rushing me more. I am so confused. "Lucky guess," she says, forced by girlfriend to walk away and never see the woman again. Couple months later, teacher comes up to me in the halls. Keep in mind, this is my first year in this town. "Oh, hey! You're that kid who's on the wall in the office meeting room." "Huh?" "Yeah, you're Anon, right?" "What?" "Yeah, but I never got my picture taken." "Why would you guys have my picture up?" Oh, must have been mistaken." Walks away without another word. Literally never see her again. Right around spring 2000, I know because I was in bed reading the 4th Harry Potter book, like a dork, well past my bedtime, in early middle school. My room was at the end of the hall, the door right across from my parents' room with the bathroom door, and my brother's just a bit out of the sight down the hallway. Maybe 2 a.m. on a school night. I was super determined to finish the chapter I was reading before I fell asleep, but I had that nagging must make pee-pee situation going on. I had a tall standing lamp in my room, but not the click-click kind, or any sort of remote. It had a wired slider that rested on the floor, slidable from full brightness to dim or off. While in the off state, it had a little orange light to help you locate it in the dark with your foot. I had the light on near max while I was reading. My parents were in the room for some time, and they didn't mind me staying up late, so I didn't care. That nagging feeling was getting bad, and I decided to earmark my page and rush to the restroom. But at the very moment I closed the book, my light dimmed about 20%. I waited a moment for it to come back. It did that sort of thing often when the AC kicked on, but it didn't. The curiosity of it kind of struck me, and for just a moment, I forgot I had to go. So, instead, still in bed, I opened the book up again and read until the end of the page. The feeling returned. I had lost concern about the light, and I folded and closed the book again, tossing the covers partially off of me, maybe halfway. This time, the light went all the way down to twilight dim, maybe 80%. I was terrified. It had never done that before, and it was not coming back to bright. The slider switch was outside of my reach. Even if I'd stretched off the bed at full length, I wasn't going to reach it, so I didn't try. I just lay there, still mostly under covers, staring at it, scanning the room in shock for what felt like minutes. The adrenaline hit hard, and in almost fight-or-flight response, I no longer had to piss. Now, in near darkness, spooked as shit. I remember calling out for Mom and Dad, but with no response, and being concerned about my nearby window. I didn't see or hear anything strange. When my heart finally slowed down again, I foolishly opened the book once more, and only managed to read like 2 sentences before I absolutely couldn't take it anymore. Light be damned, I was going to get to the bathroom. I closed the book, I threw the covers completely off myself, determined, rotated my body, and got one toe to hit the floor. Lights fucking out. Pitch black. Couldn't even see with the ambient light from the window right next to me. Before my eyes could adjust to the darkness, I rotated myself right back to bed, covers over face. I did not get up to use the bathroom. I did not piss the bed. I have no further memory of what happened. My family has no memory of me calling out to get them. I woke up the next morning, completely baffled, terrified, and went to school like nothing happened. I have a weird one about a magic guy in Mexico. Everyone told me growing up that he had a don, which means like blessing from God. People who do healing or have special skills are sometimes said to have un don. Dad is from small Mexican village. A local man is kind of famous for his good crops. People say that he has a don, and that he can water his crops with his hands. To be honest, I don't care. I just know I like the guy because he always gives me and my cousins bits of sugarcane for free whenever we go over there. Fast forward. I'm about 13 years old now, visiting Mexico. On our last day, the guy with the don invites my family over for dinner. We go over, I shake his hand, and he asks us if we want some free sugarcane. Tells us we can pick our own mangoes if we want. Yes, please. As we're walking out the back door to the man's fields, Dad tells me to watch the man closely, so I do. Keep in mind, the first thing I did when I entered this man's house was shake his hand. They were completely clean. Now, I'm watching him a few feet in front of me, and I see bits of black stuff start dripping off of his hands. His hands go from looking clean to looking like he's been digging around in the dirt. He hasn't touched anything yet. He kneels by one of the chili plants and digs around for a bit, then gets up and dusts off his hands. Dad shows me the chili plant and points to the one next to it. The one the man was touching has fresh black soil around its base. The other plant doesn't. Dad just smiles, but I'm what the fucking, like, how the hell is this real? Look over at the man. He's sprinkling water at one of the plants. I actually see the water flying off of his fingers. There's no water anywhere nearby. His hands were totally dry when I shook them. After a while, he cuts down some sugarcane, and we go inside, have a nice dinner, and leave Mexico the next day. The man passes away before I ever have a chance to return. Cousins tell me the crops still grow good in his fields, but not as good as they used to. My face went. Here's some OC. Still really creeped out every time I talk about it, but it might underwhelmingly compared to the wild shit that I've read here. Don't mind my grammar mistakes. I'm English second language. I was 15 years old, in high school. Had a final project for algebra with 2 other friends. A not-so-bright bimbo, and my nerdy friend that was in love with her. Bimbo suggests meeting at her house for the project. Nerd and me arrive, and this place is huge. A literal mansion. Something feels off, especially with the kind of furniture they had. All antiques, with a huge porcelain saint greeting you as you open the door. We go into the kitchen to prepare a sandwich. Place is full of porcelain figures. It's mostly farm animals. I distinctly remember a rooster around the table. There's a glass sliding door that leads to the backyard. We eat something, and Nerd and I begin the project, while Bimbo is busy with homework for a subject that she's recursing. After a while, I'm sitting, waiting for Nerd to finish some equations. I look to the backyard, and I notice something. Bimbo, do you have small kids in here? Says no. I point to the glass door. A small hand is printed onto the crystal. Its size and height from the floor are like those of a 4-year-old. We're weirded out, but we continue our homework. About 45 minutes pass, and I stand up to take a breather at the backyard. I notice something new. There's now an even smaller hand next to the first one. close to the floor, like a baby's. I call my friends. We're all spooked because that shit definitely wasn't there before. We get into the mood for spooky stories. Bimbo tells us some weird shit has happened at her house before. Show us her parents' room. There's the head of a Virgin Mary that looks like it was crying something black. Says that head was used in an exorcism once. We go back down, resume work. I keep looking at the glass door. Eventually, Bimbo gets up to look at the backyard, lets out an audible gasp when she's at the door. We go check on her. Now, there's a bunch of marks on the glass door. They look like hands that were dragged across the glass, or hands with freakishly long fingers. They seem to converge around the door's handle. We freak out and decide to go outside the house, through the front door. Eventually, Bimbo's parents come home with the housekeepers. 2 somewhat young girls. Bimbo tells her parents about what we saw. When we try to show them, there's no marks anywhere. Parents don't make anything of it and go upstairs. One of the housekeepers says that there's duendes, a sort of Mexican leprechaun, in that house. They're playful, and they don't really do anything more than pranks. We leave like 30 minutes later. Only talk about it with them, because no one really believed us. During that time, I developed sleep paralysis, which stopped like 2 years ago. I've never seen anything like it ever since. Playful duendes? Still, that shit felt more menacing than anything. Family owns a business. I work for business basically my whole life. Eventually, we sell out. Our best employee, who has been loyal and working for us for 30 years, says that the people who bought the company are not going to keep him as an employee, even though we specifically made that a part of the deal. Called the company to tell them that Jerry is a fantastic worker and that they should stick to the deal and keep him on. They tell us Jerry has a murder conviction on his record. Lol. I was friends with this guy, and I even stayed at his house once. Not actually a horror story or something, but it is wild. I'm sure whoever he killed had it coming. Commencing dump. These are a series of stories largely based in a woods. So, if that's not your cup of tea, move along. The first story is about the time I encountered a weird apparition in the woods. For starters, a little background. I'm a military vet, not US. Seen combat. Trained information gatherer and scout as well. Living in a somewhat forested area. Pick-related is a mountain near my place. Have caught one too many tweakers using my property as a shortcut between the crack houses. Fuck that. Start doing semi-regular patrols around the property. One day, find an absolutely enormous old-growth softwood tree. Easily 15 feet around the base. This is fucking massive. Notice that it offers good coverage and camouflage, as well as a view of the highway that the tweakers use. Keep this in mind for future excursions. Fast forward. One afternoon, patrolling. It's hot as shit. When I reached the enormous tree, I decided to take a break in the cool shade. Sit down at the base, lean back, take a swig from my canteen, close my eyes for a bit. The wind picks up. Feels cold. Unseasonably cold. Open my eyes, actually shivering from the unseasonable chill. Look right, and that's when I see it. Looks like a human silhouette, only it's floating 30 feet in the air. Transparent enough that I can see the older trees behind it perfectly. Looks just like reality is embossed around the shape of this man-shaped outline, without legs. I can feel it staring at me, overcome with a slow, creeping horror. Hard to explain, but I could feel like I was in this thing's home, and I was not welcome. I blink, hoping the thing will disappear. Blink some more. It's still there. Slowly loop the shoulder strap of my backpack over my arm, grab my rifle with my other hand, quickly hop to my feet, and take off running in the opposite direction from the floating thing. Wind kicks up just then again. Unnaturally cold. I'm in 98-degree sunlight, and it feels like a winter chill. Trees shake. Leaves fall around me while I sprint through the swamp, back to familiar territory. Realize then, shit, I'm lost. This makes no sense. I ran in the direction I'd come from, into territory I cross all the time, but nothing looks familiar. take cover behind a fallen tree, and began appraising the situation. I know the direction I came from, and I have a rough idea of where the main road is. Using that and one of the nearby creeks, I managed to find the main trail. Still feeling watched though, and still feel like I'm not welcome here. Hoof it down the trail, and after about a quarter mile, I finally find my way back to my property. It took me a long time to return to this area. Between the sighting of that thing and getting lost in familiar terrain, I'm not afraid to admit I was genuinely terrified. Time passes. Eventually, I get the balls to return to this spot with a better plan. As soon as I arrive, the cold wind picks up again. This time, I begin to pray. And using advice from some dumbass wannabe pagans, I audibly speak into the woods. Say that I have no idea what that thing I saw was, and that I have no quarrel with it, but it does not have my permission to follow me home. Never have any other experiences in this area afterwards. Not sure what the apparition was, but the wannabe pagans I mentioned said it was a forest wight, like a spirit that protects the forests, and you're a myth, I guess. They suggested I leave an offering, something without any artificial components, plastic, rubber, or etc. So, I left a wooden figurine and a bagel once. Didn't do shit as far as I can tell. Well, what if it was doing keto? No one ever fucking cares about the keto ghosts. So stupid. It's 4 in the morning, I'm really tired. Anyway. Hey fellas. Airport Anon here with a spooky story from a coworker. Not nearly enough spooky shit happens to me at work here, but everyone in my team has at least one. This story comes from one of the regular late night workers. We'll call him Jay. Late night shift at the international terminal. Usual gig. Boring night for Jay. Last flight is boarding. Time to pack up and head home. Once store is shut, Jay needs to hit the shitter. International toilets are always a pigsty at this tie because of filthy passengers. Decides to wait to go to the bathroom in between domestic and international. The airport's so small they're effectively the same building. Gets out to domestic terminal. They're all getting closed up and cleaned for the night. Annoyed, Jay heads around the terminal to find anything open. Finally find one not closed or getting cleaned. Shitty little bathroom on the other side of departure gates. And when I say little, I mean this bathroom is little. It's literally 2 stalls, a urinal, and a sink, wedged into the walls as an emergency stop for those who didn't go. It doesn't see a lot of use. Jay gets into a stall, starts doing his business. Stall next to him is occupied. He can hear some low, heavy breathing, but that's it. Uncomfortable, but what can you do? Finishes up and starts to go. The slider won't unlock. Hears a loud thud next to him, like someone just slumped to the ground. Jay is trying to get the slider to move, but it just won't budge. That's when the sound of thumping on the door from the next stall starts. Like someone is trying to get out. The lights start fizzing out. Jay is starting to panic. Thumps are getting louder, more aggressive. Someone really wants out of the stall. The lights are about to go out, and the smashing on the stall door is getting too much. The smell of rotten shit fills the bathroom, like something died and was left to rot. Jay finally decides, fuck it, slides under the stall door, and runs out. Jay gets out of the bathroom. The slamming on the next stall sounds like it'll tear the door off. Rushes out to find security, tell them what's going on. Follow him back to the bathroom, and it's empty. Lights work perfectly. Other stall is totally empty. Security, for some reason, don't seem too bothered. Jay leaves to go home because what the fuck was that? Later one night, we followed up on what the hell happened. Turns out that a big Samoan dude died of a heart attack in that very stall. Late at night, about 2 weeks ago. Airport EMTs had to pry the door open to get the fat cunt out, as he had fallen against it as he died, wedging it shut. Security had about 2 previous callouts to similar incidences there, and another one afterwards, so that seems to be why they weren't too phased. It's been about a year since then, and there's been no other incidences. So, I guess the guy finally found his rest. Jay obviously never used that bathroom again, and I avoid it now as well. Florida Anon here. Had many strange experiences in my life. I get told I attract these sorts of things, but I digress. I'm bored, so here's the story my friends and I haven't been able to forget for the past year. Be me. Be in Apalachicola National Forest in January for a camping trip with my brother. Technically not supposed to be there because it's hunting season, and we're prim campers, not staying in one of the designated hunter campsites, but whatever, do it anyway. We keep thinking we see brief flashes of blue light in woods, on and off. Try to ignore it. Just our minds playing tricks on us, and etc. Third day, friend and his girlfriend join us. They bring mushrooms. Now, the real party begins. Cut to night. Everyone takes a small dose of mushrooms, about 2 grams per person. Friend throws up after taking only half a gram. Stays sober. Fast forward. We're all decently high, but still lucid. Sitting by the fire. Friend's girlfriend crawls out of their tent. Looks off in the distance. What's that light off in the woods? There's some planes visible, so I tell her she's probably just tripping. Brother gets up from his hammock. I see it too, what the fuck? Look where they're looking, but I don't see anything. Just chalk it up to them being new to shrooms. Go back to staring into the fire because primal monkey brain. Friend, who, reminder, is sober, stands up and peers into the darkness in front of me. Holy shit, there really is a light out there. What? Get up. Sure as shit, there's a blue ball of light floating between the trees and circling our camp. Forest is dead quiet. It's so bright, it's illuminating trees around it slightly. Irregular flight pattern. Floats like you would imagine a fairy would, wavering in the air. Not even close to firefly season. Not to mention it's blue and an orb. We watch it for a few minutes. Seems like it's getting closer. Brother lights up his emergency cigar, wafts the smoke. Old native trick for spirits. I say a prayer. Light vanishes for a good 20 minutes. Light then reappears, then wavers in place for a bit near our camp, and floats off, disappearing into the trees. Freaked out. Stay up all night. Month or two later. Now it's about firefly season. Friend calls me up for an impromptu campout. Uneventful day other than the ticks. Oh God, the ticks. Night, maybe around 2 or 3. Have a few shitty bottled margaritas and bullshit by the fire. Conversation slows down since we're both tired. An owl hoots. Then friend says, "Yo, what's up?" I see the light again. You're joking. Look around. Tons of them. Smaller than the last one, but all blue orbs of light, literally surrounding our campsite. Had to be about approximately 50. They are literally nowhere else in the forest, except near us. Friend and I shit bricks for a moment. Catch a close-up of one. Not fireflies. An actual floating ball of blue fire, the size of a golf ball. Weird feeling that they're non-threatening, like they're protecting us. Just to be sure we're not crazy, light up a cigar and pray to see if it does anything. I shit you not. All of them instantly blink out of existence, until I put out the cigar. Afterward, they just kind of float around, and then slowly leave one by one. Rest, oddly peacefully, for the rest of the night. Not really super spooky, but paranormal and strange nonetheless. I have scarier ones, but this is the most recent encounter I've had, so I thought I would share it. No idea what they are, but if anyone has any insight, I'd be very interested.